Well, people, this is a view of Devil's Den here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. There's so much to talk about here, and link it in with climate change. You know, you can wind everything around climate change and how it is. So this is Devil's Den. This was formed by igneous rock. Many people think is volcanic eruptions. In a sense, it is, but it's under the earth, and that a bunch of rock, molten rock, came up to the surface, and it formed little round top, big round top behind you. And this is an outcropping of igneous rock. And there's also Cemetery Ridge and Seminary Ridge west of here, where I've given talks before. And those are basically igneous rock dams, but these are igneous rock outcroppings, and is 2,000 feet thick. This goes down. The reason you're seeing the weathering is because it has a lot of feldspar in it. Igneous rock tends to not be eroded at all. And that was a problem during the Civil War here at the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863, in that the soldiers, it's the worst choice of ground ever on both sides. They couldn't dig down at all. They couldn't get away from the bullets and the cannon shot and everything. That's why the South had 28,000 casualties and the Union North had 23,000 casualties. If you dig down, you hit rock, and your only salvation is to pile up rocks in a wall or around you, or hide behind these things when you're getting shot at. Otherwise, you're dead meat. So this is Devil's Den here. It's an interesting place. So this was formed 180 million years ago. So this was 70 million years after the Permian mass extinction happened 250 million years ago. And many of you know that up to 95% of all life on Earth died. And that's where we're headed right now with climate change. I had this whole prepared speech I want to do, and it's here. But I want to say something to you, and it's hard to get it out and not look like a jerk or anything like that. But fall's coming, and the leaves they go from green of summer to they turn colors, and then within a month they're gone. In a month from now, all these green leaves here will be gone. And this is the situation we're running into with climate change. What's going to happen, and people say, "Oh, you don't know what's going to happen." I do know what's going to happen, and this is what's going to happen. The system is going to fail. You're gonna hit a turning point, just with the leaves on the trees, where the Earth systems will run out of control, and it won't be hospitable to any life on Earth. We are putting so much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere right now. We're at 415, 420 parts per million, and only 280 parts per million is safe. And that's what it was before the Revolutionary War in the 1750s. So what we've done is we baked in at least 70 foot of sea level rise, 3 degrees Celsius of temperature rise at 420. More than that, actually. That was based on 400 parts per million. But the seas are going to rise 70 feet. You're going to start seeing, and you're seeing the system failure. It was basically the globe. I'm not going to do the speech. The system failure was that the global South was encountering, and they are encountering, massive climate change issues such as Kiribati and the island nations, and Africa is having 146 million. 146 million are in danger of starving to death in Africa. The Horn of Africa has 39 million that are absolutely starving to death right now. The Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia. Yeah, they're brown people. Who cares, right? South America is going through extreme floods. You got a whole Australia, which is basically the global north, but they're going through extreme floods right now. They went through all their fires in 2020, and 3 billion animals died, including koala bears and kangaroos, and you name it. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna go through a system failure where the whole Earth no longer can stay on this gyroscopic path that it corrects itself. Okay, it gets hot, it gets cold, it gets hot, it gets cold. It's just going to get hot, and then we're done. You know, you're going to have massive floods, deluges, because the atmosphere will hold a lot more water vapor. And you're seeing that with these hurricanes, in that they will dump huge amount. They'll go from category 1 to category 4 over the Gulf of Mexico, for example. We had Hurricane Ian, and overnight it goes from a category 1 or a tropical storm to category 4 overnight. Unheard of stuff. And this is happening in the global north now. You had Europe, where they went through the massive fires and heat waves this summer. China has went through what many call the worst heat wave in the history of any country. The Yangtze River, I believe it is, has dried up, and now it's coming back, of course, but dried up for the most part. You're getting whole situations going on. The Po River, the Loire River. Yeah, you're seeing these. Thames River upstream was drying up in the UK. So what's going to happen is it's just going to system fail, and we're making these stupid choices for politicians. Okay, the parties around the whole world, and especially here in the United States, they spoon feed you these idiots, and they're not just idiots. They're uninformed or exceptionally psychopathic as to what's going on. You know, when you become president of the United States, you've access to all this information. You have all these people that can tell you stuff. You know, what's going to happen, and they choose to ignore it. We're continuing on with fossil fuels, and we're not trying to develop immediately other renewables, not just solar and wind, because now there's no wind. If you notice, the jet stream is shot. It's gone. Yeah, you'll get wind during a storm, but now it just sits. And that's the problem, because what happens is you get a hurricane and it'll sit and spin for days on end, you know, and barely move. And that's why this last hurricane in the United States was so devastating. It took 17 hours to clear out certain areas at 150 miles an hour. That'll do some damage. So the system is failing, and we're not recognizing it, and we're making dumb choices for politicians, the worst possible choices. Here in Pennsylvania, you know, you guys, I'm going to offend the local people here because whatever. But the choices for senator right now are two people that are frackers. They believe jobs, and we can't lose jobs. We got to continue fracking for gas and oil and whatever here in Pennsylvania. The choices for governors. We need jobs. We need jobs. We got to keep fracking. I understand what you're saying, but there are bigger issues than this. It's bigger than this abortion issue. It's bigger than the right to keep your lifestyle and whatever. Different groups have different ideas of what's going on. Count the vote. We got to make everything count. We're all in the same boat, and we're all going to die together, and none of you are going to escape this issue. The system will fail. This is what's coming. Next year will most likely, there's no indication that it's not going to be worse than this year. And by 2026, and it's bad to say years, okay, so 2028. 2030, I don't know, but the system is going to fail, and we're going to start getting into a situation where we're going to start worrying about just surviving. All right, this is going to become a survival issue. Next year we'll start recognizing, oh my God, you know, for example, my stepson had to escape out of where he was down in Florida because he's going to college down there, and go to another town, which this hurricane followed him to Orlando. It was like there was nowhere to hide. He was a climate change refugee briefly. People we know who are close relatives on my wife's side called up and said, please pray for us. They were praying for someone to survive the storm because they're down in Fort Myers area, and the storm was coming out. The seas were rising. All right. People on the West Coast we know, they're encountering the smoke issue. See, what I'm trying to get at is that originally it was someone in a far, far land, far, far away, that wasn't being affected by climate change. People in Africa, people in the island nations, people in Australia. Who cares? Whatever. South America, Central America, you know, who cares if the immigrants are coming up by the thousands because they want to escape the situation they're in? You know, we're the most hideous of nations, that we're blocking people at the border when they're trying to just survive. Okay. God forbid it happens to people in the United States and need to go to Canada. You know, Canada's going to build a 3-foot wall because Americans are too fat to get over any wall. And so that's all they got to do is build a 3-foot wall, because they can't climb over anything 3 feet tall. But what's going to happen is that the whole world's going to be in moving. Okay, I keep friends, and not friends, my closest relative keeps asking, where are we going to go? Let's go somewhere. There's going to be nowhere to go. Okay, the entire system will fail. Okay, and if we don't get at it, the choices we're making right now for politicians, and it sucks that we have to choose politicians to determine our lives, but that's where we are. And the choices we're making, you've been handed a pie and it doesn't taste good. And for example, there's 2 senators and the 2 people running for governor. They're frackers. They don't get it. They don't understand what's going on, or they don't want to get it. There are no jobs when everyone's dying, and within 3 years, 4 years, the system's going to be out of control, and things are spinning way out of control, just like the leaves dropping out of the trees. So, I can't talk to anyone about this, what's happening. People don't ask questions, what's happening, what's going on, what's going to happen, whatever. And you want to give them the honest to God truth, but they're babies, okay? Everyone's being a baby right now and doesn't want to hear it. Oh, it's too painful. It's too this, it's too that, it's too scary, it's too much, it's nothing can be done. Well, nothing's going to get done, and it's going to be too much to get done because we're not doing anything right now. We're not doing the basis of what we need to do to try to get this under control, that the impact isn't so bad. The catastrophe is a catastrophe. This is not just a problem. This is a catastrophe developing. Okay, when you're in Fort Myers or in Africa or in the island nations or in Australia or China or Europe or anywhere else going on right this second, this is a catastrophe to you. Okay, this isn't just some problem that is a hypothetical, we got to solve this right now. These events, and what I was trying to point about friends and family, is that they're closing in. Okay, the circle is getting tighter. We're in the event horizon now of the black hole. We've crossed over the edge of it. We're into the black hole now, and things are constricting more and more. And we're getting a circle of friends and family and stuff that are being affected by climate change. So we better get on it, and you better make better choices for politicians. People are coming home to vote in the next election. What are you voting for? Okay, you got these small issues going on, which you think are the big ones, and they're not. This is a survival issue. When the President of the United States comes up for re-election or an election in 2024, and the person becomes sworn in office in 2025, things are way out of control by then, okay? And if we don't have a person running for office that knows what they're doing, we're cooked. We're cooked anyway, the way we're going, because people aren't going to change. There's one group says climate change is a hoax. The other group just chooses de facto denial. So here we are. And, you got the knowledge of it, and you look at people like, please start talking to me. Please start having a conversation with each other. But we're not going to. So I'm going to save the speech for next week. I'm frustrated, and at some point I'm going to stop doing these broadcasts when it starts getting out of control, and it's almost there now. But when the system starts failing altogether, you'll know, and I'm going to tell you, this is it. I'm not going to do any more of these. There's no point in it. I've got a life to live, what's left of it, and I'm going to go forward and enjoy that, because this takes a lot of time, and I've sacrificed a lot for this stuff that no one chooses to hear. So I'll catch you next week. That'll be climate change number 202. This is climate change talk number, or protest number 201, and it's October 14th, I think it is, and next week will be October 21st. Catch you then. See you later. I'll do the speech hopefully then. See you later.